Here are some skunk cabbage, which if this was smell a video, you could appreciate how they do smell kind of stinky, but their smell matures more skunk-like once their flowers are actually at the end of the life cycle instead of the beginning. And you do know when you drive past an area with skunk cabbage. I can hear this lovely little stream somewhere near here. And, oh, right at my feet are licorice ferns. These are kind of some of the, we have tons of sword ferns around here, but these are a little bit more rare. And I can tell they're licorice ferns because, let me see, they have these, when I look at the underside of the leaf, they have a distinctive pattern. I don't know if you can see that. They look very much like feathers actually up close. I don't think this camera can really pick it up. But while I have the sound of the stream and the mosses and the skunk cabbage nearby, I think I'll just let you know about the concept of web strings that Dr. Michael Cohen came up with, which is basically when you go to any natural area, anything around you, you can find web strings between you and it. And if you just go through and make a note of these web strings, imagine an invisible thread connecting you to everything that is around you in nature. And if you focus on one thing, like let's say this one green, lovely green plant with this fresh green leaves, if I were to try to come up with all the senses I can that connect me to that, I would say light, color, trust, growth, coolness, the temperature. And you can pretty much do this with anything. And the longer you think about it, the more you find your place in the connections with everything. One way to think about the senses, our senses connecting to the natural world, is that currently in our society we have placed a tremendous amount of emphasis on both the visual and the language senses. And our technology just keeps increasing that enhancing those two senses, language and visual. And there are the greatest, probably quickest way you can get, besides meditation, to connect, a sense of connection, interconnection with everything, and your senses, becoming aware of senses that you've forgotten you even had, is to do a sensory walk through nature. You can do this with someone, preferably, because I've found it hard to do on your own. And what you do is you close your eyes and you have someone act as a guide with you. And they bring your attention to anything they want to do with your body in space, like place your hand on a tree, ask you to help you to safely lie down on the ground, roll on the grass, basically they guide you, but the caveat is that everything has to be done safely. If you ever feel unsafe, you're supposed to stop the exercise. So when I did this with someone, my child, it was absolutely enlightening, because it made us both aware of how much we tune out. For example, the textures around us, like this moss here. How often do we actually go out and touch a tree or feel it to gather information about it? Very rarely. So when you become aware of how much information you're solely getting about the truth of the world from one sense, your visual sense, just imagine all the truth you are ignoring about the nature of life by excluding all these other senses. Another example of a sense that is very concrete, that has nothing to do with psychic phenomenon, which most people think of when I start talking about more than 5 senses, is thirst. If you take the example of thirst, it's definitely distinct from taste. It's something it's a sense that is absolutely hardwired for our survival. Not a single human on the planet would exist without the sense of thirst. And so the fact that water and our drive to find water is a hardcore sense, just become aware of that. And the more you do these kind of exercises, the more you start to recognize that everything is a living, breathing being that we are all connected to. And once you start even experiencing these things as a part of who yourself is, then the more you basically fall in love with the world and with yourself. So it's a really powerful shift in the way of thinking of the self, but through the senses, and reconnecting to innate senses that we all have, but we've been conditioned to ignore. What is something without a label? We're master storytellers, humans are, and we are very verbal, but nature is nonverbal. So if you go up to anything in nature and ask it, what are you without this label I've put on you? What are you without a name? And then ask the same thing of yourself. What am I without a label? What am I without a name? And wait for the answer to come. You might be surprised. I'm going to try to get a little closer to the water source over here. So just listen to the sound of the water. And I'll just focus on something that is nice to look at. I'm hearing a hummingbird right now on my left. I want to show you a salmonberry now. These are the most common first flowers of spring. The berries are kind of an orange, yellowish color, but the flowers are this bright, bright pink. And I'm not sure if I can get close enough without being in a swamp for you to see. You can see those. They're just beautiful little pink trumpets that pop out in the spring. There's another salmonberry bush. I'm going to walk a little further and I'll be back.